Serving today, we've got Commissioner Luke Johnson, Commissioner Doug Nagel, Commissioner Dallas Roskamp, Commissioner Chris Hollingsworth, myself, also Administrator Steve Ewing, and our HR Director, Kathy Feston. You all please stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You've all received a copy of the agenda in your packet, and we've one was posted as well. Are there any corrections or additions to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I do have an addition. Item number 3, we have add-on commissioners warrants this morning dated 3/14/23 in the amount of $16,590.17. $16,590.17 for that. And as far as the agenda goes, approximately 11 o'clock, please add on Assessor Joyce Smith retirement recognition. Assessor Joyce Smith retirement recognition, 11 o'clock.
Mr. Chairman, the position starts.
Okay, Chris, then move to the second. Move the second. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passed unanimously. Also in your packet, then we have the consent agenda. That consent agenda consists of the approval from this our last meeting of February 28th. Also the auditor warrants from March 3rd, March 10th, and the ones we just added them all up as well, $16,590.17. And also hospital warrants from the $975,656.12, and the treasurer's report for February.
Mr. Chair, move the consent agenda.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dallas. Moving to second to approve. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. Okay, our first presenter then will be our highway engineer, Congressman Nick Burns.
Good morning. Right, first for me today would be project updates. First update, the only update would be on page 3. And that would be the Stone Arch Bridge we have. We have the plans, the updated plans submitted to MnDOT, and they are currently in the review process. They called to tell me that it's going to take a little bit longer than normal to review this because it is such an odd structure. So he hoped to have something back with a month, but when I look at it, they're not changing anything structurally about it, so I don't think it should take that long. This is my 2 cents on the matter, so I'm optimistic that they'll be able to make that. Maybe one more thing to add, talking with them, there's not a lot of people that do this type of work, so they recommended having a completion date of 2024 on it, and I think after talking to them, I think that's the right thing to do. So I know I said I wanted to do it this year, but I think we would let it this year, but with a completion date of next year in case it spills over, so we don't end up paying a premium on that. So, but either way, it's nice to see it moving along. Next up for me would be request to approve some right-of-way payments. These are pretty straightforward box culvert type payments. Box culvert payments. The bottom one you'll see is quite a bit higher than the other. That particular landowner owns the land on both sides of the road, so kind of like 2 easements in one, and it's a little bit bigger than what we're thinking the average, you could say. So otherwise, nothing changing on those projects.
What do you told us to be done this year, do you think?
Maybe let's say this year or next year. We'll see. We trying to help with our high prices by putting large completion windows on projects. And the ones we can do that too. I think it helps. We'll keep doing it. It can't hurt. So
Okay, I'd like to take action on this requesting for use of right away. Thanks. Move approval. Thank you, Chris. One second. John, thank you. Move the second to approve these three right away payments. For discussion questions. Okay, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passes.
Next up for me, I was contacted by the MPCA in regards to their landfill right next to that that new gun range property. They would like to restore the native grass, if you will, in that area. I didn't ask a lot of questions about why, I guess that's their decision, but they asked if we would be okay if they killed off the grass in our county ditch, not the drainage ditch, but our roadway ditch in front of that property. They would take care of all the costs with it, but they would like to plant native grass the whole way up to the road. I asked if what's all in this, and they said it'd be really similar to what's there now. Like there's no shrubs or anything to catch snow. And then I asked if we could still mow and everything to keep with our maintenance, and they said we could do that. So it doesn't sound like there'd be any impact to us. But before I said we could do that, I wanted.
Do you know how tall this grass can get mowed for visibility?
I asked that specifically, and she said it'd be similar to what you see now on the roadside. So
2 feet, 3 feet? I mean, because there's an intersection there, so if native grass can get pretty tall.
right,
So
but
that's what
this would be west of the gun range driveway.
not by the intersection.
No, not by the intersection. It says west of that driveway to the half mile.
Then we've
away.
always had, concerns of when the grass is tall, deer is jumping on it.
Yep, and she said we could mow that with our regular schedule, and they're gonna mow it too on their schedule, but
Are they gonna mow, like when they mow their area? And you think they mow that? Because they come in at least once a year, I know they mow that.
okay.
The mountains and.
How did she say that?
I don't know how easy that ditch is. I don't know how.
Yeah, if I remember, it's kind of steep, isn't it? I didn't go look at it because it's full of snow. So.
Yeah.
Remember her talking about it, but I don't remember exactly when. I guess what I wanted to hear is that we could mow the shoulder like with our normal mowing. And then it wasn't gonna be like tall and catching snow.
And that was my concern, because I've seen native grass get pretty,
Okay,
that's all I have.
Yeah.
It's a different type than I'm thinking of too, but I've seen some 5 feet tall.
okay. I'm trying to think back to exactly what she said here. Let's see here. I think I found it. Okay, to ensure the success of the new native vegetation, we'd be mowing the area 2 to 3 times per year and spot spraying as needed for weeds for 2 to 3 years. After the initial phase of the project, long-term yearly maintenance would be conducted as needed by CLP. Closed landfill program. That's it for. The native vegetation would be similar in height to what is currently growing in the right of way. If needed, we have the ability to intentionally plant shorter species near the road. There'd be no woody species like shrubs or trees planted that would obstruct vision or cause snow accumulation.
That's why they want to be up in the right way, really.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of odd too, but I guess I didn't really question that. I guess that's up to them, They can request for whatever they want, we don't have to allow it.
They
but-
can ask.
Yeah, they can, yeah. So, does that answer your question? Like, I could answer.
Well,
ask them to
it's
plant-
more, I'm just concerned on tall. I know over the years, you guys be careful when a farmer wanted to plant his ditch to something other than what was supposed to be in there, either short alfalfa or just the normal short grasses, so that was my.
Okay.
Did her email make reference that they could plant shorter in each area? Did I understand that?
Yeah, it did, if by the roadway, if that's what we want, so I could ask. them.
Maybe you could just request.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think this needs specific action on this. We can just directly take.
No, I think it's conversation.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it's gonna impact our ability to do what we do, where we hazard.
So that was my concern, we're kind of a hazard,
In the future, we don't have any grading projects in mind for that. All. So it's not like in 5 years, we're gonna have to create, they're gonna want us to receive that back.
No, we've got a few other projects on the next up list, if you will, like when we have funding available, that there's nothing in there. Right? That road would have been redone before me, but I feel like that's. I don't see that happening in my lifetime.
You guys all consensus, just let me take care of this.
Next up, our Stone Arch Bridge contract. We're nearing the end of the design contract with Bolton and Mink. So we'll need to move into like the construction phase now that that's happening. Typically, when we do a large bridge like that, we have a request for proposal that includes design and construction. This was just for design, since that's all the original grant was for. So, you know, there'll be some bills coming from Bolton and Mink associated with what they have to do with the project that we can't do in-house. It's really just like our normal consultant contracts, but it's cut in half because of that grant. So there's really nothing out of the ordinary with that. It's just we'll have to, you know, sign a new contract with them and their bills. If you look closely at the numbers, it might have a different contract number up in the corner or something. Probably never would have noticed, but if you see that, or if they title it a little bit different, that's what's going on. So, there'll also be some bills from a company called ONE. They go by Olson and Griswold. They have to do with the structure of the Stone Arch Bridge. And then there might be some bills from, I think it's called Gemini. They are the people that like to go through for the historical society stuff. I don't know if they're gonna come separate or if it's all gonna come from Bolton and Mink. I'm not sure, but just if you see those names, it's Stone Arch Bridge. And that's what. So I don't need any action here. I was just updating everybody that if you start seeing that stuff, that's what it's for. Next item. MnDOT contacted me about a week ago, I think. They are updating the street lighting along 75 from Laverne up to Trotsky, or up to County Road 9. And they asked if we'd like to upgrade ours. We currently only have one street light there. The paved road only goes east of 75, not west. I assume that's why there's only one there. They said if we wanted to upgrade it now, they would pay for the structure, but we'd have to pay get power to it and then a monthly bill. Right now, the bills are just under $75 a month, that corner, so they probably double to 150. If we were to add a second light later, we would have to pay all that ourselves, but I'm not convinced we need it since the paved road only goes east, so. I guess that I'd like some direction on this.
And that was my thought, I think there's sufficient light there. I mean, I've been through that intersection 100 times a night.
Yeah.
And I don't see the need, and if they want another one there, I think it'd be their responsibility. Maybe they can put one there and pay the electric for it, you know.
I'm fine with that.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think it'd be different. Paved road west too.
Yeah, it's lit fine. It's, you know, people have their headlights on. I've never seen an issue there unless, you know, there's incident accidents that I don't know of or something.
There was some years when there was no light at all.
Yeah.
And that was not good. For a while, the substation had lots of lights on, so we didn't need on over at night. Yeah. So they shut all the lights off in the substation, and it was dark for a couple of years, and that was an issue.
But I mean, say it's a night, you have your headlights on, like,
In the fog or things like that, the snow, it's.
just
to
you
have
find the.
finding the corner.
Like I say, I don't.
I don't think it needs two myself.
I don't see it.
Yeah. Are they gonna do the one that goes to Troston property? A mile north?
They never asked me about that, so that must be right where it ends. I wonder if that
Oh, that's where the,
reconstruction project starts and ends. My guess, but I never asked for sure. They asked Rock County about a bunch of theirs, and then they only asked me about County Road 9. But I would probably leave it alone, but now it's time to do it if we're ever gonna do it, but
you know if that's an LED now, because a lot of them got changed to LEDs, but I'm not sure if that one.
so we looked on the bill and it looks like it is based on, so there's like there's like a monthly charge for being hooked up or something, and then there's the electricity part of it. I
Do we pay that to the state, or do we pay that to the utility?
Nobles Co-op, or excuse me, Sioux Valley. Yeah. Yeah, so when Leslie and I looked, it looks to us like it is LED, because my first thought was, geez, if this is a big old power burning unit, like, well, maybe the upgrade doesn't really cost
I
anything.
thought they were upgrading all that, a few years ago.
Right, so it doesn't look like that's the case. It looks like the power consumption portion is rather low, so it looks like an LED on the bill, but it doesn't specifically call it out either way.
They made reference to this current standard. What is the current?
I didn't ask, we don't do lighting on our county roads, there's some on the state roads, but this is all where we ever get involved. They just said for upgrading, we're doing 2, or we'll leave it alone, so that's our option.
Do we know what the scope of their project is for upgrading that road? What are they wanting?
I went to Laverne for a meeting on this probably, I don't know, it feels like it's 5 to 10 years ago already. I think they were talking medium mill and overlay back then, but I mean, I could find my notes, but I don't know if that mean anything. It could easily have changed since then, so.
We talked about it length before, not to belabor it, but as we know, that road is just getting worse every day.
Oh, yeah, and this is the segment from County Road 9 south.
Yeah.
This isn't up to Highway 30, this is just the south way, so. So I don't know what the road plans are, this wasn't about that, this was just strictly the lighting, and from a guy I've never heard of before, so that might be all he does. I don't know.
Would you guys like to take a vote on this, or we got consensus already, or?
Yeah, but we need a,
Okay, well, just,
Would you like action for yourself to go back to state, and put formal action or not, let's take care of it.
no, I can just, that's fine, I can just go tell them that we're happy with how it is. Next up for me would be the LNO power pole alignment on our County Road 25. Would be nicknamed the Sail Barn Road, just east of town here. I think I've got it condensed fairly well and I request for board action. So essentially, if there's a utility outside of the right of way and we need to expand the right of way for road construction, then the county is responsible for paying the cost of that relocation. That's not uncommon. Our utility ordinance is put in place to kind of catch these things ahead of time and try to minimize these costs in the future. This line was there well before that. So currently it's outside the right of way. It needs to be moved for that reconstruction project. They had contacted me recently, saying they want to rebuild that line along that section. I thought, hey, perfect timing, see if we can move it now versus they put a new line in it and try to move it in a few years. So, with that, when you change the alignment on those large poles, they need to put special poles in that can kind of bend that angle. I don't know if I'm doing a good job of explaining it, is that kind of?
Yeah.
Okay,
So for the side pole, either you have to have guy wires down on it, or you have to have a type of structure.
Right.
To take a side pole.
no, that's a good way to say it, so. So what they're doing here is they're asking us to pay the additional costs associated with changing the alignment of that. We're not asking for us to pay for the main line, just the deflection cost, so. And fortunately, they're claiming that's gonna be about $150,000 because these poles are insanely expensive. So I guess that's where we're at.
Please don't.
But, yeah, so if we don't do what you're saying, where would they put the line, their new line?
They put it right where it is now.
Like, what's that, 40 or what's that?
I think it's at 40 feet, yeah.
Our existing right of way is 33 or 36.
It might be 50.
No, because we're.
I
buying
think-
right away.
When we looked,
Then it's.
there was no,
gravel road.
But it's 33.
there's nothing recorded, which it's 33 then, so. You know, it looks like they're definitely out of the right of way.
So they would. We don't ask them to, they're just gonna put a new line right back where they're.
Same spot,
And right now, today, it's still in private right of way.
correct.
How far out is this?
They put it right in the ditch bottom.
No, the road project, for redoing that road, 60 foot. I mean, how, when is that project? It's,
Time wise, there's no time.
No, it's on the, it's at the back of the 5-year plan.
So within 6 years.
It could be done within 5 years,
This
yes.
is way quicker than that. I think they're doing it from the south. The corner.
They want to build this line,
No, I mean.
but our road projects,
Rebuilding.
I would say approximately 5 years out. Yeah. Give or take a few. So I mean, it could be in a few years. Yeah.
It's on. It's in the future, it's close.
Yes,
It's on the books.
it's very close. It'd be very good timing to take care of this now.
Nick, have you had a chance to talk to landowners about purchasing additional right away there?
We have not yet. We are having appraisals done on these parcels. MnDOT requires us to have appraisals done when they exceed a certain threshold dollar value. There's gonna be some of them that exceed that and if not most of them, so we're getting appraisals done. When we have that appraisal, which should be soon, we will then be contacting landowners.
So to recap, in essence, today, the power line is on private right of way.
Yes,
And it will still be on private right of way. Because we haven't bought additional right away yet. So if Illinois needs to replace this line, so normally they would just replace it right where it's at.
Yep.
But because we have cooperated and communicated with the line coming, so to be proactive, it makes sense to move this line further to the east, so it won't be in the new right of way once we purchase new right of way.
no, I'm not sure it could be in the new right away or it could be in private, but if it is. I can't tell.
Purchasing the 60 feet.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it is in our right of way, it'd be so far back, it'd be out of our way, it'd be on the back slope.
Which would be fine.
Yeah, that's normal. We can work with that, no problem.
So the only question is the additional cost it takes for them to make that angle on the south end.
Correct.
And on the north end to accommodate realigning that further to the east.
Yes.
And that makes perfect sense.
Well, if you're gonna go ahead with the road project. That needs to be done.
Yep, yes, it does. Yeah. I did explore with them, like leaving it in the current alignment, we try to grade around them and then. I don't know, that's not really an option and. If you,
Are they really allowed to be in the red window? When you redo that road, you don't want.
if it's out of the recovery area, they can, but it doesn't mean that they should. That's a bad idea, we don't want that. I think County Road 7. West of 15 or east of Cas has a similar situation, the poles are way in, but these would be bigger poles and probably a little bit closer, so it'd be a bad deal. you know, what's that, but I did ask. It's not gonna work for them either.
I do agree that it makes good sense to do this. I do take a little exception with their price tag. I thought about this and we need to take action because they need this materials ordered, so we don't want to delay this by tabling us. But with your guys' permission, in fact, I'd be willing to make the motion that we will approve it to agree to this up to $150,000, but still give us a little bit of room to negotiate. It might be just wishful thinking, but your guys' approve it to expand up to 150,000.
I'll second.
And then can you state aid funds for this?
Yes,
We can,
yeah, that would be our state aid funding. It wouldn't be county levy dollars, so we'd use our state aid funds.
perfect.
So moved and seconded. You guys see the other questions for their discussion? See, hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Let's try to give them a call, Sam.
Yep, I will.
Maybe an in-person meeting. That would better too.
I don't. Guy I've been talking to, I'm not sure where he's out of.
Probably Rock Rapids.
Okay,
All of Illinois is up to DPR and Rock
oh, okay, yeah, DGR sounds right. Yeah,
Rapids. I remember I used to work with him.
Oh, okay, so you would know. I will. I will check with them. And get back with you, Dan. And see when we can. See when we can chat about that. Great. Next up for me would be maintenance updates, and last month we've pretty much just been plowing snow and fixing snow plowing equipment. So,
Yeah, how are the blowers coming?
well, I showed Doug a picture this morning. I went back in the shop last week and all three of them were lined up in a row, all waiting for the doctor. So we're up and running again.
Great.
What do you got fixing them without? Just
Everybody. Everybody that can turn a wrench. It's been rough, but we're getting by. We got a lot of good team players out there. So. Yeah, so I think we got at least 2 or 3 running now, but we can. It's pretty tough to run more than 2 at once because we only have 3 payloaders and got the one that's always scooping salt sand. So.
And understandably with the snow and with the budget, we're paying overtime. It's well worth it. We've got a good group of guys. They don't get crunched at all.
Yeah.
Overtime.
Yeah, and we may be doing more of that shortly. Like, I don't know, we'll see what happens on Thursday, but we may have to, do more with the blowing to keep some spots open. So.
How are you doing on your budget? Yes, there's not that we're in stop policy.
Right. So there's not like a specific line item for snow plowing. We got some in diesel fuel and some in overtime equipment costs. So it's kind of hard to look at it and say, oh, well, this is where we're at, and this is where we thought you'd be. But we could try to put something together, to give you an idea.
Oh, okay. Just think of stuff. Just a rough estimate. You don't need to spend time.
Okay.
We gotta get realize it's success and you do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I feel like we're probably a little bit ahead of average, for costs with moving snow, but the last 2 years we had were pretty good. So if you look at like your 5 or 10 year average, I don't think we're probably still in a decent position, but for this year, we're probably a little bit ahead.
I've gotten some good feedback from our constituents there. They're very pleased with you going on. You guys all too, kind of same sense. They're in many areas.
I got some liners in my area.
We get that too. We had one, we had one resident northwest of town. They dropped off fresh corn kernel rolls for the guys one morning. They were appreciative of what we were doing. We've had some things too, of course. I think a lot of that
on my side of the road.
or like blizzard conditions, like they prefer to see the plows running all the time. If you can't see, you can't see, So some of that happens.
Everybody wants out first too.
Yeah, and that, yeah. So I don't know, a lot of that comes from probably just not knowing any better, maybe sort of, a little bit of education sometimes goes a long ways, but.
Well, we've been kind of spoiled the last number of years.
Yes, we have.
We haven't had a real interest for the last.
Yeah, so. I don't know, all in all, it's. It could be much worse.
Kind of normal.
Yeah, there you go, that's gonna be, yeah.
Well, again, pass on our brief on us.
Outside of that, anybody have any more questions for me? Otherwise, that's all I have for today.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it. We're about 15 minutes early, but so is our sheriff's department. Keith, Mike, you ready? Oh, yeah. Excuse me. Right on time. Thank you, man.
So we had started some discussion on the new home abatement. We made a few slight changes to the application or revisions. And kind of added a line about that the manufactured mobile homes do not qualify. Otherwise, it was just some slight wording issues, but the biggest thing was just adding.
And to refresh anybody's memory that might be watching in last meeting, we tabled this because there was some verbiage in that we didn't want to do.
Exactly. So yeah, so I guess we think we have it in a good position. So up to you guys to see if you had any more questions on the program and if you were going to read it.
Yes.
I just wanted maybe more clarification on manufactured mobile homes. Is that one thing, like a manufactured mobile home, or is that manufactured and mobile home? Is that?
So I believe,
manufactured would be, a home they built in Madison, they bring a home, put it on the foundation. Where a mobile home being.
Mr. Chairman, I took this definition right off the state of Minnesota's website, where they for viewing and their zoning requirements. A manufactured home is the definition of what you see here. Other homes that are built on property, built at a factory is a home. It's a stick, it's still considered a stick-built home. It just happens to be built at another facility. So this is anything other than a stick-built home, basically. So then that's right off of the state zoning and codes for that. So it's why I put that in there. So it specifically calls out what a manufactured home is by definition here.
And that kind of is also what the electric code too, basically saying manufactured homes, that is different.
Right.
And then also, there's that verbiage there too, it says quite clearly, new construction, so we won't get into these like we have in the past. It's new construction. Any other thoughts or discussions? If not, we can entertain a motion at this time or motions were approved. Thank you, Alice. It's been moved to approve. Second. Thank you, Chris. Move the second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I had one person talk to me personally and ask me if we were a pass these or not, because he was hopeful to build a house or something. Didn't want to get anything started before we got this passed. So.
I also have received a couple calls in this well, very, very supportive of it. And I appreciate it. And the one comment was, does everybody know about this? And I told him my recollection. I started this 5 years ago. At the very start, a little bit of lack of knowledge on it. As soon as the contractor got all to speed that first month, everybody proved that point. But going forward, I don't know if there's anything that we need to do more. I guess that it's on our website. It's going to be made. So the information is there for people.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the intent of this is not to supplement somebody's construction of a house. The whole idea is this is just a slight incentive. So
It's been out there a while. I hear a lot about it.
Yeah.
Just people know about it because it's been out there.
So I don't see any reason for us to spend money putting ads in the paper to advertise this and put it on our website, word of mouth, and I think that's. So. Anybody else, any questions or comments?
And Mr. Chairman, just a note here too, this was adopted originally back in 2016, so this is really not a new
Right.
proposal or project going on. City of Pipestone's waiting for us to adopt this because they will use ours as a template for theirs and upgrade theirs as well. So they're looking at doing the same as well. Theirs was expiring as well this year.
And also, if I remember correctly, the school district did not follow suit with us on this abatement. I don't think that they.
I don't believe the school district.
The city did
ever
not
took
mirror
this.
ours, not the school district.
And doesn't Edgerton also?
Edgerton is not.
The city does not. Okay. So Pipestone's the only city that does.
I'm not sure.
That's all I'm aware of.
Jasper,
Um,
trust me. Okay, call the question then. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, say. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda.
Mr. Chair, while Amanda's here, could we cover the job description that I passed out this morning since it impacts her office? We have a few minutes.
Thank you, Jeff.
So we have handed out a new job description for the auditor's office. Nicola Backer was previously 3 days a week as deputy auditor 3. Towards the end of 2022, we did offer her a full-time position with some treasurer duties. She has decided to not take on treasurer duties and go back to her original 3-day-a-week schedule for the auditor side of the office. So we drafted a new job description to hopefully recruit and hire somebody for those 16 hours per week, which was budgeted for the 2023 year. for their department. This draft job description covers different duties that this person would be doing in both the auditor side and the treasurer side of the office. So the language is very similar to some of our other job descriptions under the headers. This person would be transferring documents, issuing driver's license and IDs as a backup to some of these other full-time staff or and then some financial and taxes duties, election duties as needed, and then general office duties. So we try to arrange those categories. So what we're seeking today is approval of the job description and approval to advertise and hire a 2-day-a-week person to assist the auditor.
General approval.
Okay, so move second. I guess just for construction then. So basically it's like, it's gonna be like a job share situation because between the two, you'll have 40 hours.
Well, kind of, yes. It's not labeled as a job share because it's 2 different job
Two different
titles.
jobs.
So it's more like 2 part-time.
And you need a specific new job description because of the duties. That's what.
Yes.
That's why it
Yeah.
has to be a new specific one. Okay.
Right.
Very good. Hopefully you'll have success in recruiting somebody. That would be great. And I also like the idea too of giving more of a diversity in the office too. That would be nice.
Maybe hard to find somebody from 2 days a week. though.
It'll
We'll
be-
see what we can get.
Yeah.
We've had, I mean, I've had a few people
Yeah.
that do
Okay.
want part-time that
Yeah.
may be good candidates if they're still interested.
And depending on the individual, it could very well over time evolve into a full-time position for someone as well too. If that's, if we got. you know, the need for work and if they got the ability, it's a good way to get into the workplace. Benefits wise, so at 24 hours to 16 hours, they see any benefits at all.
So the 24-hour-a-week position would get prorated vacation and sick accruals. They would no longer be eligible for insurance benefits. The 16-hour-a-week wouldn't get any other than basically the PRA.
Okay. Anybody else, any questions? Okay, been moved and seconded, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Now we're ready for you. I apologize to Amanda for skipping over you.
It says vehicle purchase, that's what we're down here for, but it's not another vehicle. What happened was, the one we got approved for, we got two approved about a month ago. We have the one that was on the lot, we got that, we're driving that. The other one that's supposed to be made within 2 months is now maybe gonna be made in the fourth quarter of this year. Maybe, and they can't, so we basically canceled that. But we did find another one on the lot. About the same price, but we just want to tell you what Mike can tell you the exact numbers here. That's how this happened. We're just gonna have to try to find enough lots that can price. That doesn't work. Order.
So yeah, we were notified that the one we thought we were gonna get in 8 weeks is gonna be more like 10 to 12 months. So we ran into the same problem as we did when we discussed this earlier. Pricing and stuff, it's probably gonna be a 24 model, it just gets complicated. So we started, went out and searched around the area trying to find something comparable to what we've already priced. And I just added the previous handouts to your packets to refresh your memories on what we talked about. The first one that says General Motors 3/6 of 23, that's the new current one we're proposing to purchase, one vehicle. The other two where it says General Motors 124 and Ram 124, those are the ones from the previous discussion we had. Just so you can see that we're not far off. We can go apples to apples with the General Motors ones from before. However, the one that was discussed and okay to purchase for the Ram, going to the General Motors one this time would increase it by $3,785. So there is an increase there. But it's in with line with what the other GM stuff we priced before, so I guess that's what we have, so that's what we're proposing.
And it's on the lot, we will pick it up today.
So it's been good to check. It's nothing too out of the ordinary. I know the question's been brought up in the past, additional fees and such. In this purchase, the bid was $34,210. They added the state and local tax 20 and a document administrative fee of $125. So $145 with the fees in addition to the price you're seeing there. So then $34,355 is going to be what we're going to be requesting the check for.
Where is this dealer?
Jeff Balzers is in Lakeville. There's 3 dealers in the cities, but this truck happens to be sitting at the Lakeville.
We are going from what would have been a 2023 to 2022, but again, availability.
Right about the time you get, I mean, in my experience, and Keith's too, you know, and look, talking to these, when we talk, obviously you can see we banned all the one ways. The thing with the 2023 is it almost has to be like on the train, ready to get on the truck or a lot somewhere already. So it means it's been built, so you're still hard to say, okay, this is what we want for apples to apples, because the truck's already got what's gonna happen.
Well, and how long do we only run our vehicles? 5 before we get rid of them, 5 years.
Well, we try to go to 5 years if at all possible, and
But
then runs about 100,000 miles.
the truth is, 5 years from now, if we're trading in 2022 or 2023, it's not gonna make any difference.
It probably won't, especially depending on the mileage. The biggest thing when you get to splitting that up.
When you see mileage, it's like in the trade-in. For the one you're getting rid of, what's the mileage?
Gosh, I had that number when we were here in January.
Ballparks.
80,000, 84,000,
Close to 90 right now.
right? 90,000, something, might be 90,000. Yeah, a lot of idle time, but
And we haven't seen much for an increase in expenses on a lot of these trucks that we've had. Like we can get to 100,000. And they kind of run about the same for repairs and maintenance. But yeah. With the trucks,
Does that get traded or just sold?
that's gonna be traded on this price.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So it'll be the 20,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
gonna get 24,000 for the trade.
Okay.
Which is where we see the benefit, right, is.
Yeah.
And owning these vehicles at this point is if we can manage them correctly. And
Yeah,
Get them to the ending
before
line.
they're- Yeah, get them for their shot. you know.
we can retain a lot of asset in it. When we start getting retail fleet discounting, it helps. And we're getting back to that now. You know, we ran COVID, we ran a lot of years there, we couldn't even get that. But now we're starting to get that again.
Yeah, this is a good discount. That's very good.
So, and they added a few more extra than we've seen in the previous bids. Because they wanted to do business with us, so they added a few more $100 in there from their lot discount. So you'll see that's a little bit more than we've seen in the fleet discounts before.
Mr. Chair, I'd move for approval.
Okay, thank you. It's been moved. I'll second. Mike, the equipment in the vehicle we're trading down, will that be transferable into this GM or is it not?
For this purpose, yes. For typical exchange in a different vehicle, no. Like the Durangos, we've had a tough time. They changed the complete body style on them. And it threw everything out the window, so to speak. But, and that's kind of why we try to go to that 5th year and maybe even 5.5, because all that expense is blocked. And so we can defer that another year, helps offset that.
Sounds great. Thank you, guys. Moving and second for discussion. Okay, hearing none, all in favor, aye. Aye. Pass unanimous.
Thank you, guys.
I talked to Jody last week about getting a check. She said, well, she needed was maybe a notification from you that we could get a check before Friday. She wouldn't have a problem with that.
Okay.
If that was okay
Yep.
with you. And the board.
I'd request a motion to approve auditor's warrant check for the purchase of this vehicle.
So that would be an add-on to the agenda, so we can certainly do that. So it's moved to approve an add-on to warrant. Okay. Amount again,
$34,355.
Any further discussion, questions? Okay, all in favor, aye.
Thank you.
We don't have to add that on as another item. We're still germane with the topic at hand. So thank you for that. Jill, Kyle, do you want copies of this information? Yes.
And Joe and Kyle, we are going to go into closed session briefly. On administrative. Not gonna take long. We got feedlot coming after that and Billy Brown. So if you guys want to stick around, it should be too long.
You have feedlot down for 10:30. Is Kyle coming at 10:30? Or should we be here?
What do you think, Steve? Should we try to get old Kyle in here soon? That's quite a while from now.
We can, or we could do our other business and start at 10 o'clock with the evaluation. We could let's get our other business done on the back page. That'd be all right.
So when do we want to be able to have?
We'll do the evaluation at 10. We should be pretty much on target with Kyle for 10:30, I would think by then.
Very good.
We'll try to keep it on schedule as best we can.
Then at this point, I guess I have to entertain a motion to go into closed session.
No, let's wait. Mr. Chairman, I recommend we do our other business on page 2 of your agenda. We'll get that out of the way. I have a resolution and the library report, and if Kathy has any other personnel items, you're welcome.
Then follow that. Okay, and Steve, you'll introduce the resolution.
Yes.
Do it for itself.
In your packet, Mr. Chairman, you all have a copy of Resolution 5912-23. What is going on there is I was notified on March 8th by Mary Lyon from MCIT that we have a new memorandum of agreement ready for counties to sign. This is for the opioid settlement, and the new settlement is for a different group of payers is what we have here. This one is going to be with companies named Teva, Allergan, CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart. Okay, they're requesting today the resolution to be passed, and the settlement dollars will continue to be split at 75% to local governments, 25% to the state, and the payments will be made directly to local governments. And you'll remember that our payments that we get are being transferred to Southwest Health and Human Services. And to date, we have transferred $68,000 to Southwest Health and Human Services for use. They will have to inform us of what their usages will be, because the counties have to report the information to the settlement people here. It also says the continuation with the previous settlements up to 7% of the local government share will be reserved for private attorneys' fees. Attorneys will be required to seek reimbursement through the federal settlement first. Unused funds for that will be returned to local governments for redistribution. We haven't seen any of that yet. Settlement funds can be used for a very broad set of activities that is based on allowable uses delineated in the settlement. Those were again done on our original agreement, and those uses for the settlement funds have not changed. Each county will again be asked to approve the national settlement agreements and the Minnesota memorandum of agreement via DocuSign. I've already worked through that and got that ready to go. The memorandum of agreement is written to apply to all future opioid settlements, so you hopefully will not need to sign future versions of the MOA. You may need to pass future resolutions to opt into future settlements, but we are working to minimize our future paperwork. And the settlement agreement that I printed out, I did not put it in your pocket. It's 82 pages long. So the percentages that we're getting from this are the same. Pipestone County, along with all the other cities and counties that are listed in this, our allocation percentage is still at 0.1535154503112%.
Does your calculator have that many spaces on it?
No. So that's what our share of the settlements come under, and it's based on population and other needs is how that's developed, is how those percentages came across. So that document's been set to go. So recommendation is to the board to approve resolution 5912-23, so I can present that to Mary Lyon at Minnesota Counties that the board has adopted that, so we can share in the funds coming from Teva, Allergan, Walmart, and Walgreens. So different group of settlement dollars coming in, more toward the retail side of it now than it was like the earlier ones were from the manufacturers and the distributors. So, and this is going to be going on for years.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 59.
Thanks, Dallas.
Second. And also Dallas, and everybody, Dallas is our representative in Southwest Health and Services opioid settlement board. You have to keep ads for that. I got to know what's out there. Any further questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, aye. Aye.
Thank you.
And Steve, do you have something that you can present in the public library report?
I do. Don't have much information to give you this. I did invite Dina up to this meeting, but she was busy and will come up at another time to discuss library activities. So I did invite her to this, but she was unavailable to come today. So it was basically for your information. I don't know if you had a chance to look through it at all. We'll just recommend a motion to accept the annual report as presented.
I make that a motion. Second. We don't have the governance informational, this is informational, so
That's correct.
we're just accepting this report and thanking them for it. So, okay. Any further questions or discussion?
Dina asked me if I wanted this, and I said, it doesn't, never hurts.
Never hurts. Yeah, it's nice.
They're doing one curriculum from the library.
I thought they had some very nice programs.
And the latest one is gonna be a puzzle I made. Kind of just puzzle putting together. Saturday.
Do they get all of these?
I think you get the same puzzle.
And still in the cellophane when you start.
Four person teams, so everybody's a puzzler.
Anything there? Thank you, Dallas. Moved and seconded for discussion. All in favor, aye. Aye. And again, thank you for the great job. Kathy, any further personnel information? You've already taken care of all that.
No, just see if it's a performance.
It's almost 10 o'clock. Yeah. I don't think we really got time to do committee reports, so we'll wait for that yet. Upcoming meetings, I'll see if also got one pitch coming up then on the 20th, so next Monday. That's gonna be at the EMS building. That was 1 o'clock.
9 a.m.
9. Oh, excuse me. And then on the 28th, we'll have a regular board meeting here. On the 11th, we'll have a regular board meeting here. So. Okay. I guess at this time, then we'll go ahead and. So I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session. Okay. And again, the reason for that motion is to do personnel evaluation of our industry. So it's a move and seconded. Okay. Further discussion. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. And Steve, you go record it for
9:56.
form. Oh, you got the recording back.
Yep. Okay, we're ready.
Okay, we're back in open session. So at this time, I would like to move that we recognize the great work that's being done for us and accept his performance evaluation and recommend him then to move for a more satisfactory performance evaluation. Move Steve into the next step, which would be an E81 step G. Okay, move the second. Any further discussion? I would like to elaborate a little bit more against Steve and how again we are very, very fortunate and very blessed and appreciative of the public. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Further discussion? I'm not hearing none. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, say. Thank you. Fifteen minutes. We've got Kyle Freer listed there for feedback report.
I can check and see if Wayne and Dean are here. Dean
Okay.
Schultz is here too, see if they're available.
Or
You
we
make
can
Steve
move on to
dinner.
committee reports.
Either way, we're gonna work.
There's
Yeah,
a-
yeah, I didn't check their consent decree. Dallas, you're fighting cold today? Didn't really want to.
Wayne and Dean will be right in.
Yes, we're ready for you.
Come on up.
Come on up.
You do have a copy of the change order request in your packets, board members, about 3 pages back.
We have with us now Wayne Shrimp, building ground supervisor, also. We're looking at some projects in Rachel Johnson Control, so you've got voice.
Yes, just kind of wanted to overview this a little bit here. And going forth through the project, what we found was trying to put the new controls on the VAVs over in the law enforcement center. We come across some mechanical deficiencies on pretty much 90% of the VAVs. We knew this coming into this project that when you take and try to put new controls on old mechanical equipment, I know I brought it up here, prior to this project, just in case we might have to do something a little bit different. Well, we come across this issue. As you guys can see on the proposal, we added a picture of the old existing VAV.
And indeed, we all know what a VAV is, but we explain also for people that might not know what a VAV is.
Yep, so a VAV is a variable air volume box. Each one of these rooms is slated to get a certain amount of CFM of air exchange. per room, and those are set up as per the balancing reports. I actually just took pictures of the balancing reports here this morning to go through and verify some of the flows here. And what it does is during like your cooling season, it'll open up and bring more airflow in to the room. Obviously, it's kind of like the idea of having a fan in your room, more airflow, the cooler you feel, the cooler it makes a person more comfortable that way. And then when we go into the heating season, it actually backs off on that airflow because it's easier and more efficient to heat up the air at a slower rate. So these VAP boxes that are in there, and looking at the picture that my project manager sent, what's happening with these VAVs is they're about 40-some years old. And 46 years old.
46.
And they don't quite have the capabilities of doing what we can do with them controls wise anymore. We're running across the damper shafts that are too short. Some of the shafts are broken to the damper inside the box, so we're not able to control that air flow correctly. And we're having issues of keeping the temperatures mediated in these rooms and these offices. So in front of you, we have a proposal to do the change order to, we're going to completely swap out all these VAVs, the existing VAVs, with brand new VAVs. That includes your reheat coil, airflow measuring station, and everything with them. We're going to put them back in with a brand new one and put our new controls back onto those VAVs. And then also with that, we're going to come in and do the balance report you, just to verify that we've got the correct airflows with that. So, any questions on that part?
Mr. Chairman, the building committee did meet on this. We had a very thorough Teams audio call this from the representatives from Johnson Controls. Well, and thank you for Dean for being with us here as well. We don't have a choice.
Will this be
These are-
covered with ARPA funds?
Yes, I do have enough money in the ARPA to pay for this upgrade. So I would recommend that the board approve this and use ARPA money to pay for the change order number on this.
And I will second that motion. And again, we got an estimate price tag on this. It's expensive.
$92,900.
It's expensive, but we need to do it. And it's not really unexpected at all. You know, you think about that 46 years. And mechanical.
Only
I
thing,
think we need-
But are they available? Do you have them?
Yes, so they will have to be custom made. I texted Travis here this morning to get an update on what the availability is. He was thinking when we originally put this together, I believe he was talking late May.
mhm.
So, but again, we're gonna work with you guys' schedule on that. You know, obviously, we'll have to get in and above the ceilings throughout the jail. And dispatcher's office as well as down here in the basement. So once we get those, they will coordinate with you guys on the installation of them and try to make it seamless so we don't have too much of a pickup during the moderate temperatures too.
I guess while you bring up while we're in working hours, projects you've done so far, your crews have been very, very good to work with. Very
Excellent. I know that's definitely appreciated. I know we've had a couple of hiccups here and there, but it's to be said, it's an old building and a courthouse, and we're trying to bring everything up to speed and it's nice to see that we're able to do a lot of this project without having to cosmetically, do a whole lot of work on that.
So I assume that there'd be more efficiencies too, with moving these newer components.
Yes, so once we get the new VAVs installed, that's gonna be able to shunt a lot of the airflow back on the main duct. And that's actually gonna slow your fan down here in the mechanical room so that, we can run with a lot more effective utilization of the power and stuff, so.
that main fan runs off 3 and 2.
It's,
Varies the speed of it.
yeah, and it varies that speed for these VAVs. So if 90% of these VAVs are only calling for their minimal flow, we can drop that fan down to its minimum percentage.
You maybe want to address too the duct cleaning that we had done before too, how many undergoes hand in hand with this.
Yep, that was one of the unfortunate things is the reheats that you have out in the space are nice and clean right now, so I hated to see those be replaced. But the clean ductworks that are affected this, now that we're gonna throw brand new VAVs in here, with proper maintenance on the system and changing air filters on it, we'll be able to make these last, hopefully, like to see another 45 years out of it.
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I'm just surprised at, this part of the project wasn't in the full project when we did it, that to have this done. I don't know if this was missed or an afterthought or what, but I mean,
When we
never thought of it, obviously, here.
Right, when we had looked at it originally and we had looked at the boxes, we thought that we were able to put the controls on these existing boxes and make them work. Hypothetically, it was something that, we probably should have evaluated, maybe even tried one first. But, again, it would have been, adding this on another project in the get-go in the first place. So.
Right. Understood. So will this mean cutting these lines, these fluid lines in here?
Yes.
So they'll have to be cut and spliced or re-soldered and put back together, so.
Soldered and put back together. Each VAV comes with its own reheat coil with
Right.
piping whips to them per se. So they're not actually gonna have to replace the actual control valve on it. That's gonna stay there.
Okay,
We're just gonna hook them back up to the existing.
Are these glycol or is that?
Yes, these are rated for glycol, which that is going to be coming here. We wanted to, the glycol's here, but we're wanting to change that out.
There's one tank,
They did put one tank.
one tank in and the other one's in the garage.
So that's good to see that that's started. We were hoping to wait till a little bit more moderate temperatures, so that way we didn't have to keep the whole heating system down. So I put it away. Try to keep everybody comfortable at the same time. So
Very good. Anybody else any questions? So I believe it was moved and seconded.
yep, motion and second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Passes unanimously.
perfect. Thanks, guys.
Mhm.
A little bit of a project update too. They do have about 90% of the controls completed, connected. So we're just working on graphical floor plans. Again, I grabbed some pictures of some of the prints here this morning that I'm going to shoot down to our projects team to correlate, make sure that user interface is going to line up with stuff. I'm working with Wade right now, I'm trying to get some of that temporarily moved over so that we can see at least most of the controls that way in case there are issues. We do have a couple of us that have remote access, so as they've had issues, we've been able to dial in and try to mediate the remedies for that, so. Ready?
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Want you to get anything else for us? While you're up here or?
Not right now.
Okay.
I know mental health.
Just mentioned they did have a visit with Mark, so.
Yeah, he said he had another small project to do and then he started. So he thought within a couple of weeks. he'd
Yeah.
Start on that. So.
We
we're still
communicated.
getting some bids from it.
Communicated yesterday by text and said we need to have this going. We want to be out of city building by 1st of July. And he's getting siding and stuff. Said you can work inside anytime you want to. We're ready to go. So just to coordinate with Wayne so he can get the stuff moved out of the way and he can start working inside the building. It's time to get moving.
Most of the carpet's tore out already.
Yes.
Needs tore out.
How about the carpet in here? So how's that?
They're still working.
Project still going?
Yes, they were up on Port Forest, they had moved down today, so now today they're gonna do a small project by the mail room.
Mhm.
Then they're going back up to do their court administrative office in that hallway tomorrow. The Rest of the week will probably be back up there again. And that should be, up there should be pretty well done. After this week. Good.
Also, I Nick gave his report as well too. We thank him and his group. And you the last one. So yeah, we appreciate that. You're doing a good job. It's quite a year for us.
Then we got that snow off and skid steer.
Yeah.
That's really, that's been getting a work off this year.
Thank you so much, Wayne.
Yeah.
Okay. Kyle, I see you here. We're helping us early. You ready to review that report? We have to wait for 3 minutes. It's not public hearing, so it's just ready to report, so.
Good morning.
Morning.
I brought Nicole Schwab with me. Nicole's been doing, most of the feedlot inspections over the last year. Or actually the last 6 months or so. And then, which I provided with you is the 2022 feedlot annual report that does require board approval. So I'll have a copy. I can review it if you'd like, or if you've got any questions, be happy to answer anything you got. This basically just summarizes the work that was done in 2022. We do a minimum program requirements with MPCA that lays out what they expect us to do for the feedlot program. We're required to do 7% inspections on the number of sites that we have in the county. And then just kind of, when you do a site inspection, it gets checklist gets filled out and it gets uploaded into the state's database. No issues, no concerns. We did just have our state review, which was all, I think we got 90 to 98%, somewhere in that vicinity. So everything with the program is going well. There is legislation being proposed. I believe they're looking at adding another $1 million to the $2 million that we're currently getting for the feedlot program. So there's a possibility that those allocations could increase for the program, along with a few other ones. Solid waste, I know, is hopefully moving forward too. So, any questions?
Jared, move for approval of the report.
Move and is it second?
Looks like it's
Feedlot report. Any further questions, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Do you have anything else to pull?
No, I'm good.
And then right now, Nicole's been working on getting letters out to individuals. Everyone's required to register every 4 years for the feedlot program. So she sends out notices, gets them back, and then puts them into the online system also. So, thanks, Nicole.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman, you want to take a 5-minute break?
Yeah, I can do that. We'll take 5 minute recess and we'll have Joyce come down. Well, welcome back. We're back on our recess now. The last thing on our agenda is to recognize a long-time terrific employee that we've had. Joyce Schmidt has decided that she's going to retire after 20 years with us. And she certainly is going to be missed. In fact, Joyce, you were just telling us kind of a little bit of background when you came. It was on St. Patrick's Day when you started.
Yep. St. Patrick's Day, and I started out in the law office. Went to school actually out at vocational school for accounting, and then went into the law office part-time and then full-time, and then went into banking for First National. In 2003, I came to the county. So. Yeah.
And how did the assessor's position evolve over 20 years?
You know, I told Kyle wanted an article, so here it is, Kyle. It really hasn't changed a lot other than technology, certainly, and mapping probably is the biggest thing that we, utilize now. But it's still, the changes in legislature and waiting for those changes to take effect. But in essence, I mean, our job hasn't changed from the cycle of all things, right? You go through valuation notices, you go through local boards, you go through county board, and then you get into the tax statement cycle. So that hasn't changed at all. But faces are changing within our industry. I go to a region meeting, I'm the old person on the board. But yeah, lots of new faces coming in industry. It's a little hard to find those these days, and I wish there was a way we could educate people to look at it more so.
When did the state requirement for certification come in? That was about 10 years ago.
There's always been a certification.
but the requirement for it.
Yeah, they've had licensing before I came. So that certification, I don't know exactly when that all started. That big educational component was in place when I started 20 years ago, so. So to be a county assessor at the time that when I became in 2007, I think, something like that. The certification was still there. You had to be accredited and you had to get your senior accredited, so. Those been there, but our local assessors were able to go out, or actually any tax assessor could go out and look at property with a certification. If it was income producing property, you had to have more credits, but it was probably 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, when they actually finally made that an accreditation. You had to have this stronger license, and that's really been the tough part to get it.
Yeah.
So.
Anybody else? Any experience?
You work with a lot of different social assessors underneath you. Or the weird convention comes to.
Yeah.
He was there a long time.
Yeah, when, up until about 6 years ago, we were locally assessed countywide. Still have quite a few in place. We're doing some in-house. The county office is doing, I would say about 10, 12 right now. But we have Tom Hausler currently is doing some, and Eric Skogquist is out of Anoka. He's had Pipestone in Jasper for quite a few years. So.
Well, on behalf of the county, we'd like to show our appreciation to you and the Pipestone County, but it's most appropriate to have a calumet. This particular one was carved by Swift Horse, so on behalf of the county, we'd like to award you with that. We certainly appreciate your years of service. That's been very, very nice. And along with that, we got a certificate, of course, graduated you on appreciation for 20 years of dedication and service to the company. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's been great. You've been a great support. I always knew the board was behind me, and now it's always good for them. So it is appreciated. So thank you.
Because some of the work you did is rather delicate at times. Takes a certain degree of
It's a lot of
skills.
education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, thank you so much. guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
This way. There we go. Okay.
Would you share with us your plans for the next year or two?
You know, I don't really have. Like, so I have family on the East Coast, I have grandkids there, and I've got two little ones, a 3-year-old and a 3-month-old, so I'm sure.
Are they roles?
Yeah, the two little guys are close here, but the others are on the East Coast, so, yeah. So, other than that, gardening. I do some local assessment for Rock County at this point in time, so I was there with that. So, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Joyce.
Joyce,
Yes.
how much longer do you think our local assessors will be able to keep doing their job? Assuming they don't want to get whatever training you need to have or accreditation.
I mean, you look at, Tom is obviously retired from Rock County, and he has an interest in going, but I guess, I don't know what he's thinking, but.
These are certain.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
We have some strong, from that standpoint, they're saying senior accredited, so they're very good, license wise. But I don't know, it's tough.
So we don't have any of the local ones anymore that are not accredited, or? I see.
Yeah, they were basically, they didn't get the accreditation. So licensed to do the job.
They're only grandfathers for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a tough one to know where this is gonna go and, you know,
But I'm just
Yes,
wondering, like,
we
at some
wanna-
point, is the county gonna have to do it all, or?
possibly.
Yeah.
You know, we took on a lot
Mhm.
one 2 years ago. Yeah, so that means more staff in the office, which we need.
More space.
They have to get those same licenses, and it takes 3 years minimum
Right.
to get in there, so, yeah. Yeah, it's a struggle. So,
And now the new successor, you've been working with Chris, and Chris is coming up to speed. She's gonna be able to take over very well for us.
and
Mhm.
she really did the assessment this year, and I wanted her to do that because I'm not gonna be here doing boards of equalization, so. It's a good.
Mhm.
I thought first it wasn't the best time to go, but maybe it was.
So when is your actual last day?
My last day, official day is April 7th. But last day in the office is the 3rd. So, I'll be taking some vacation. So, yeah, it's coming up.
Yep, good for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joyce.
So the only thing we got left. If they want to take it off, I'll start.
Yes, put up my list. February 14th, the regular meeting here. 15th, the Plum Creek meeting in Worthington. I was elected secretary of the group. Executive committee of that. There, one of the things that came up was their van, what I knew last year, was named. And she gets 1,200 miles a week. So we got a plan for a new one ready after just getting one. 'Cause that's a lot of miles per week. 23rd was a EMC public policy meeting Zoom. 27th was opioid settlement with Marshall.
Thanks, guys.
And you're gonna get $340,000, $340,800 over 18 years. So it's a dribble. One thing I learned at that meeting, there are fentanyl strips to test for fentanyl. Nice. Well, where do you go to get your drugs tested for fentanyl? You go to the cop shop and the policeman there laugh. He said, "Well, obviously they don't do that, so. Yeah. There is way to text if your street drug has fentanyl released in it.
Before you take, it, you're saying.
Yes. I didn't know that was even available.
So it just registers by contact, or?
I guess so. It's a litmus test or a litmus strip or.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not familiar with them either, how they work.
I know there's been some discussion in South Dakota about the legality of it. They're saying it's officially required for the other, so it's outlawed. But I think they just recently have made provisions where it can now be legally possessed so that people can check their drugs before they use them.
And 28th was regular meeting here at the hospital. That's very good.
For February, February 2nd, Pine West to Alexandria. February the 9th, I do have just one-on-one education training at the hospital. February 14th was a regular board meeting. February 16th, soil and water. Then February 22nd, 23rd, the AMC legislative conference, which was canceled due to storm, so that was all Zoom. I got some highlights, they're probably old by now. With the legislation going, but just quickly, Governor Walz spoke for about 10 minutes, just general updates. In the general government session, they talked about trying to get property tax relief of 150 million. Talked about the SCORE grants falling short for counties having to use local funds. And that 30% of the SCORE tax now goes into state general fund. Budget proposal with 12 million added to soil and water. Not sure where that's at now though. And we did have a Zoom with Bill Weber. It was about 45 minutes long. That was, you could ask questions of Bill. I don't have anything new to say there. Just talked about the surplus a little bit. And then there was 80 million cost, 15, 10 million. They're kind of pushing for the social security tax to be removed from the social security recipients. Then, let's see, February 27th, Southwest Health and Human Services Marshall. February 28th was the regular board meeting and the hospital board meeting.
Chris, you ready? Sure.
On that 6th, I had a hearing aids nurse family partnership. We had that up in Marshall this time. Looks like they're gonna be moving the meetings around this time. It's quarterly. I got to meet the new executive director, Vicky Prosh. So basically, the big update since she was new to the program and whatnot. Everything's doing good. They was still sitting financially strong, still with their finance committee, still looking at trying to reduce the county contribution. But see, part of us to just wait and see the future brings. On the 14th, at the regular board meeting, with road and bridge meeting 2, right afterward. Talked about a couple things that we brought to board already, and then as Explore Southwest later that afternoon. Their website's 90% done. They're hoping to have it completely done, but Jackson County haven't done anything. So everybody's trying to circle back, trying to get all of Jackson County's information out. So that hopefully the website should be, I think we're supposed to get a preview later this month. So, and then when that's up and running, they're hoping that all the counties will put a link on their page to that. So
We'll do it.
So everyone can piggyback off of that.
This group out of Omaha that we contracted with years ago, that is
Wasted money.
that's done, gone. We got nothing from them at all.
We spent $90,000 and we got a couple posters.
And supposedly they made a visit through the area.
Yeah, and then now they talk to any chamber or anybody around here, kind of drove and drive around and figure out what was around here instead of contacting anybody locally.
That was the one that had the logo with the big arrow that made it look like.
Yeah, you should get leave Minnesota and go to Sioux Falls. Yeah, that was, they spent $90,000. But so working with FRDC, it's been a very good marriage and things are actually moving forward. We have a website, they're going to get rid of the Explorer or the Hunt Southwest website, and paying all kinds of money to have that on a different site. It makes sense to have it all on one website. So that's something that they
I missed that meeting with that one I was gone, but I know that in recent years, I know the focus has started going more and more towards on Southwest. I'm glad to see that corrected.
Yeah, and I think it was a couple loud personalities there that really pushed the hunt aspect of it and really hunting's have year round here. But
it certainly is part of our culture, but it's not to be all.
it could be a nice link on their website, doesn't need to have its own website. So we have to pay all kinds of money to manage all years round. But, and then on the 27th, I had a CPP executive committee meeting, just did the executive committee does, pay bills, just a few job descriptions, things like that. They did a contract for EAP services. People didn't know if they needed it or not. I was able to relate my experience to mine earlier about how having those is a good thing in a lot of different ways. So ultimately they're going to provide that, even if it's helps one employee, that's worth it then. So another thing we're going to look at, they are only 34% complete with the tax rewrite. That's going on 5 years. So that's where Joel's like, all right, we do this, or what we're going to do, because nobody is happy with that progress. Because in 5 years we can get a number we're at. That's where we're at 34% now. We got down here. But a lot of it, what they're going to look at doing. To try to streamline that, is there's so much time tied up in the testing. They're trying to create these programs and testing. So we're going to look at a pilot program and try to hire retired auditors, treasurers, maybe even assessors to help on the testing aspect of it. Just work from home throughout this program, is working, is it not? Okay, we'll keep our guys just fixing and programming or creating rather than trying to go back and test and do all that too. So that's some pilot program creating. Other than that, they're doing financially, very well. Yeah. Very well. So. But that's all I had for meetings and
It's too bad Minnesota can't simplify their tax process
Amen to that.
so that it wouldn't be set, I mean, you could almost buy like a software off the shelf versus have to, construct your own to deal with all the Minnesota uniqueness.
Reinvent the wheel
Right,
every time. And then it goes flat.
right.
that's all.
Okay, on 14th, I had Road and Bridge Committee and then attended the Holland City Council on the 15th, had a Zoom meeting for Highway 23 Coalition. On the 16th, Soil and Water District, 21st, at our MRC Zoom meeting because of snow. I had 3 legislators present and they took questions and that went pretty well. Of course, on the 22nd, AMC conference, and we have the Zoom meeting with Senator Weber. On the 23rd, the Environmental Natural Resource Committee met. The SCORE bill, I believe, is still moving along pretty well. Hopefully they'll get that through because it's nice to have that 30% that goes to the general fund back to counties, which would actually be more than they give to counties currently. It's like 30 million additional versus they currently give us 18 million statewide, so it'd be a nice increase. And then we had our AMC board meeting, had our hospital meeting on the 28th. On the 1st, went to an AMC land use training with Scott Anderson's last training because he's going to retire at the end of the month. If anyone knows that, the attorney, he's a great presenter and
Doug remembers him.
it's going to be a bad, it's kind of a sad day to see him go.
Yeah.
We had a MRC update via Zoom on the 6th. I gotta say, that new firm that's working for the rural county group was doing a heck of a job. Obviously having 4 people to do what one used to do is much more effective.
And now, are you still chair this year?
I am.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was multi-year or not.
They choose a different one each year, but yeah, this is our 3rd year, I guess I have been. On the 9th, we had a prime health meeting. I just attended by Zoom because of the weather. But I'm happy to report that after 5 years, we're basically back to a break-even status. After we had a worst case scenario year 1 and, things looked a little bleak. We had an outstanding year as far as usage went, and we're basically back to where we started. But ironically, a few counties did drop out, but one county and one other transit group did join. And things are still going along, and I think people are overall satisfied with the program. Although they did change to United Health versus Preferred One. And I don't think people are that excited about that change.
No, not.
If anyone has any issues, let Leah know at Prime West, because she'll help fix those issues.
I've had a call from Pipestone County Medical Center about UMR and the billing, and it's not going very well.
Right. Yeah,
So,
and it was.
And I
just
gave
because-
them Leah's contact information.
Good.
So,
Yeah, because she's the one that seems to be able to fix the problem, but my guess is that they may not be the company that we're with for much longer, because I haven't got very good reports from how things are going with them.
With the expansion companies coming, has that increased the membership?
No, it's actually down because of the counties that have dropped. I mean, like Douglas County dropped, which was one of the bigger population counties. So I think we're down to like, say, 2,000 members versus we were at like 27,800, something like that.
With, you mentioned there's some transits that are members now as well too. Do you know?
Prairie Rider, remember?
Yeah, I've heard Prairie. Would like a SMOC group opportunity council, would they qualify?
I'm not sure. You'd have to ask them. I mean, I know there's pretty particular
criteria.
for, you know, it has to be all county related and. But yeah, you'd have to ask Matt, I guess, to find out for sure. Then on the 10th, Area 2 and RCRCA had an executive Zoom meeting and also had a Highway 23 coalition Zoom meeting where we were just making some revisions of their bylaws. And then yesterday had a AMC legislative update on Zoom and our plant ops at the hospital, and that's all I had.
February 1st, we had a special hospital meeting with Brad on the afternoon. Then on the 2nd, our Prime West meeting, Doug and I attended. Prime West also, we're still pursuing that lawsuit with the HS. And as you know, we did at least get the default designation. So if somebody doesn't sign up for Medicare, Medicaid, then it defaults back to us. So that has helped. So actually the numbers are doing pretty well. We're still in that moratorium though, where we cannot drop anybody yet. Now with the designation coming off of the pandemic, that'll be coming up pretty soon. We'll be able to disroll people, so that's going to change our numbers a little bit. Then on the 7th, we had a county board meeting. On the 9th, I had a special Casey Jones government relations meeting with Bill Weber as well too. That was a Zoom meeting, trying to still continue to get some traction on some funding. Again, still some more. On the 10th, Southwest 18 mental health consortium of Marshall. One of the areas on that is this fiscal agent. Des Moines Valley and fiscal agents and their people all want basically a whole harmless liberty. I think Steve can explain a little bit too. And it's just we had to make look at it and we said this isn't necessary. We have designating Des Moines plus domains says it's just what they
Yeah, and Domain also mentioned that they should be indemnifying us, not us the other way around. So that's why that hasn't come to the board yet for your approval, because they're still at Domain says, yeah, you can go ahead and sign it, but don't believe it's necessary what they're asking for, and it's an overreach. So stay tuned. When it gets hashed out, I'll put it on the agenda.
That's right. Also, we had a solid waste committee meeting that day as well too. We met with Van Dyke. You missed that on yours as well too. And he's ready to present he's working on his contract in the next 5 years. When does that start? Is that next January?
January 1st.
January 1st, 24.
And at this point, it looks like the percentages he's talking about are going to be livable for us. It doesn't look too bad. Seeing anything bad there.
We'll just have to wait and get his proposal.
Yeah.
Other cardboard dumpster.
Yes.
Because it seems to be every time I drive by it, it's in the.
Yeah, the other cardboard dumpster is here. And I don't know, are they still storing the second one off site now?
Right.
Yeah, so it doesn't get both half full.
And they're still getting used all the time.
Yeah.
But they're empty.
Then on the 13th, we had the hospital plants and facilities. On the 15th was Southwest Health and Human Services. And also, actually, that was that snow day, wasn't it? So got there and we didn't have a quorum. So we had to schedule then for the following Wednesday. And was the following Wednesday, and I wasn't able to make that because I had a doctor's appointment that day. So you made it to that second one.
That's like,
Yeah. On the 20th, then Western area of mental health then came down here to our facility, as you all know, and scoped out their exam room that they're going to be using them for their patient interview room. And then, as I said before, Pete's getting their signages and so forth, so making progress on that. Actually, their state visit is supposed to be today, so they will be fully accredited and as of today.
Let's hope that goes well.
And we don't know where we're going to be at as it goes forward, because right now, we're not part of that joint powers group like we were with Southwest Energy Services, so we're just contracting with them. But as this develops and so forth, I'm assuming that will be working towards. On the 24th, we had the AMC meetings, so forth. I didn't zoom in for Thursday. Went to the Thursday meeting. The Friday, though, I did have a meeting with Southwest Health and Service, and I zoomed in on that, just an introduction for it. So trying to get up to speed based on what all Jack does. I all that stuff. Now,
What does SHAC stand for?
I knew you were gonna have to. And I know it is. So
I love our acronyms.
yeah, it's another. Obviously, health and services one that has to do with health. I'm sorry.
That's all right. How's it? What's it? Is it SHSAC?
SCHSAC. SAC. I'll try to open up one of their emails and see if we can get off of there. And then on the 27th, had our SMOC meeting. Having some difficulties at SMOC. And as of yesterday, we have placed our newly hired administrator on paid administrative leave. And we have contacted Lindsay and Derek, and she's representing us, so we'll get that sorted out. More to come on that. On the 28th, then we had up at Alex, then we had our quality control that I was able to zoom that because we also had our regular county board in the morning, we had hospital in the afternoon, so I couldn't get up there by 5 o'clock. So I zoomed that. And that concludes my report for the month of February, guys. Any further business to be attended to today, guys?
Move to adjourn.
Moving second to adjourn. Any further discussion, questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Approved, thank you.
11:29.